G'day folks, today on the bench I'm going to tie you up my white zonker. Here's a fly. I tie it inverted so the rides hook up. I can strip that along the bottom of the rivers without getting anything hung up. White's a great color. You can do it in different variations of colors. This is one of my favorites. So let's go over the materials we need to tie the fly. For the thread I'm going to use some Big Fly white tying thread. I'm going to use some Danville's size 14 tinsel. You can use 12 is good too. I'm going to use some soft wire for the body. The hook, we're going to use some SP11 Gamakatsu. These are size 1/0 saltwater perfect bend. They seem like they're a large hook, but I'm going to be using on front some fish skull bait fish heads, and that's a size 2. It's good for the 1 1/0 size hook. They come with the eyes and everything right in there. You could just glue them on with super glue, however you want to do it. I usually just epoxy mine on at the end. I'll show you that later. And for the body, I'm going to use some polar bear. This is the underfur from the polar bear. After I've taken my guard hairs out to tie my streamers and so forth, I've saved this, and it's a great material for that body. It looks really good in the water. And the zonker, I want to use a black barred rabbit strips in white. And you, like I say, you can change up the colors on this. It's a nice, nice fly. For the tail, I'm going to use some silly legs. These are the chrome silver clear right on the back, and gives us some nice movement. Kind of hides that hide a little bit when it's swimming along the bottom of the river. So let's get ready and get a hook in the vise and tie one up. So we have to tie this inverted. Remember, as you're tying, that you're going to be doing everything upside down. Get my hook in the vise, and we'll start our heavy thread on here. Get to the rear. I'm just going to take 2 strands of this silly legs, and we'll tie that in right the rear right here. And pull them to the rear. There we go. Make sure they're tied in nice tight. Then I'll bring in my silver mylar. 14's a little bit small. I didn't have any 12 in front of me here. 10's a little big. 12's about right on this fly. Now I'll get my wire. Take off about 12 inches of wire. A lot of wire brushes. I get such an effect with the dubbing when I use wire brushes. We'll go to our thread post with that. I'm going to use my Norvise to tie this. You can use dubbing blocks, or you can use dubbing loops, whatever you like to use. And you can dub it on straight too and pick it out later. I just prefer to do it this way. Now I'm going to put my dubbing block in lengthwise this time, so I can get more material on there. I'll take this underfur, and this I've saved. This is just the stuff that a lot of guys would throw on the floor or forget about when they do the polar bear. This is just take any guard hairs out. If you see any little short guard hairs, take that out. I want this kind of fuzzy dubbing. So here's some guard hairs. I really don't want that in there too much. I'll just strip that out. Get some nice soft underfur in here from the polar bear. Line that up along the top of my thread. Doesn't hurt to have a little extra on here. I bulk that body up good. Gives it a nice shape. I'll come across the top with the wire. Get rid of my dubbing block there. Tip that down, and then I'll just tighten that all up. And as it's starting to tighten, it'll get shorter. and shorter. Let's get this out of the way. Once I start feeling it turn in my fingers there, I quit. I don't want to break it. And good, you can come along here with a brush and just comb that out a little bit while it's on, and that'll free up a lot of those fibers. Get that brush looking really good. Okay, you see it now, it's standing out a little better. So now I'm just going to wrap this forward nice and tight all the way along. Once I get it started here, then I can just start manipulating it back. I like to stroke these fibers back a little bit as we're going forward. Tie it off. Get good turns. That's a really heavy thread. So I'm just going to come through that now with this tinsel, and it's actually it's tough stuff. You can lean on that pretty good. Bring it through all your dubbing. Make sure everything's tied off good. Really lean on that thread hard. Now I'm going to get my brush, dubbing picker here. Basically, this is the bottom of the fly now, so I want to have more out of the side and the bottoms. Top, I'm going to have my rabbit strip come in there, so. I want to get a little bit of this out in the back here now. Pick it out, take a little time with that if you need to. You want it to lay back in the water. Okay, so that's the bottom. That's what you want to be looking at right there. Okay, that looks pretty good. Then for the throat, I'm just going to use, here's some underfur of the red polar bear that I've saved up when I was doing some red. So it's always good to keep this, throw it in a little plastic bag, and you never know when you can utilize some of these materials. Because I like the natural fibers. They got the taper with the hair. Just going to throw a whip finish on there to hold it all together. Now I'll bring in a piece of my rabbit. And I use this as a bard, and it's got a nice thick hair on, or skin on it. Take it out of the vise, and I'm going to basically pierce, go to my table here. Now I can pierce my hide right in the middle with the hook. It's right in the center of the hide. I'm going to put it in the vise so I can hold it. Now I want it to come over the top. I trim it off the back here about twice as long as just get my scissors. I don't cut the hair right there. I just get them underneath in the hide, so there's some hair sticking out below the hide there. And in the front, if I get a little more hair in there, that's good. I just tie that down, so like so. And trim it off. So now this is riding straight up the way I'd want it in the water. Okay. I want to check my eyes and see if they all go on here, if everything's good. Actually, push it back. I could have cemented that body when I was tying. It would have been a good idea, put cement on that thread. This big fly thread is a little bit slippery. So there's basically our fly. Now we're just going to come in here with the eyes, and there's a heavy side on the bottom, and that'll help the fly ride upside down, just like so. Okay, now I'll come in with some red 3/0. I should have mentioned that earlier too. That's what we'll use to tie the, hold the head on. And we'll get good turns in front. The eyes. Finish that. Snip that off. Then I'll get some of my resin, my UV resin here, some Solarez. I'll just coat that thread. Oh, see, I lost an eye sitting on the table. Just give me a second here. I'll have to have that come off sitting on the table. I don't glue them on. I'm just going to epoxy them on. I'll show you here. I'll grab it. I see it fell off. These are a little bit sticky, but they're not near what they'll hold on there, of course. There, they fit in there. They're recessed right in there, so that's good. So all I do, they usually stay on long enough till I get my fly tied, and then I just put a coating of my resin over the top. And just cook that on. The other side, a little coat of resin over that too. That side there, cook that on. That's it. So it's a nice little fly. It swims really well. It's heavy, but it's still light enough. I get a really nice big thick body on here. I like that polar bear in the water. It looks good. And once it gets a little more tension on it there, it kind of thins down the water a little more, and gives it lots of bulk, lots of movement. There's a fly that has worked on many species. So there it is, my zonker. So polar bear zonker. All the best to you. We thank you for watching again on the bench, and hope to see you again soon.
To watch all our latest Sport Fishing on the Fly episodes and to order Sport Fishing on the Fly merchandise, head to www.sfotf.ca. And if you would like to book an adventure like this one shown, head to ontheflyadventures.ca and book yourself the trip of a lifetime.